with Other Side of the Selfie. Hope you're all doing well. Just wanted to say hello and welcome our guest tonight. For those who are new to the show, just wanted to give you a quick update on what the heck Other Side of the Selfie is. What we try to do here is it's kind of a collaboration of husbands, boyfriends, significant others that come in, and we're trying to support our wives. So doing whatever we can to show love, show support, show encouragement, and then also talk through some of the challenges, the ups and the downs, and all that kind of stuff of what it takes to be married to a spouse in the network marketing, direct sales, multi-level marketing, whatever you want to call it. So tonight I've got Matt Lee. His wife, Heidi Lee, is with Rodan Fields. And these guys actually have been friends of ours for years and years and years. So it's great to have Matt on and to kind of talk through his experience. He's an entrepreneur, works in the corporate world, also owns a couple other retail restaurant kind of businesses. I'll let him talk about that a little bit. But I'm going to pass it over to Matt for a second and just kind of say, hey, who you are, maybe how long you guys been married, who's the family. I know you got kids. What are the ages of your kids? They do live here in Stowe, Ohio, so they're right around the corner from us. And then we'll kind of end it with how long Heidi's been in direct sales, and then we'll kind of jump into some details there. So welcome, Matt. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, sounds good. Thanks, Matt. Well, good evening, everyone. As Matt mentioned, I'm right up the road in Stowe here, and I'm glad Matt added to his caveat when he first jumped on that this is a collaboration of husbands and boyfriends. I didn't know what she was going to consider me to him, whether I'm his boyfriend or husband. But anyway, yeah, so my wife and I have been married. My wife, Heidi, we've been married for 18 years. We have 3 boys, ages 7, 10, and 13. And we're just doing this life one day at a time. And as Matt mentioned, we've been friends with Matt and Ann for a number of years now. Switching to the business side of things, me personally, I'm in the corporate world. I work for a company that manages drug benefits for employer groups. But separate from that, as many years as I've been doing that, I've always had an itch to do something entrepreneur-wise. So had my wife. And as Matt mentioned, we have 3 frozen yogurt shops here in the Ohio area. We are franchisees of a chain called Sweet Frog, which is pretty big around the country, depending on where you are.
Yeah, really
and
good
we
stuff.
Thanks, I appreciate that. We have 3 stores around Akron area, and we've owned those. This coming June will be 6 years now.
Holy cow!
So I know, right? So we did that.
That's crazy.
Did that for a while. And when we came out of that, we also tried a full-fledged restaurant. That's an example that did not go so well, and we no longer have that anymore. So we just still have the yogurt shops. But switching over to Heidi and Rodan Fields, she's been doing Rodan Fields now for 3.5 years. And she really came into it because my wife is someone who has very fair skin by nature, and as skincare goes, she over the years has tried a number of products, and sometimes some success, but other times not. But in general, still not finding the right product line that she felt was the right fit for her. And through a friend of hers, she was introduced to Rodan Fields and tried the product herself for about a year, maybe a little bit over a year. And at the end of the day, she was ecstatic. It was really the only product line that she felt was working for her. And so that's kind of what kind of teased getting into this kind of MLM, whatever you want to call it, model. Her friend was kind of encouraging her all along. Hey, I know you really like the product. You're very relational. My wife is great about contact and connecting with people one-on-one, and she just likes being able to shepherd and work with someone to help them and have an impact at the end of the day. We're very much wired like that with everything we do. So at the end of the day, she jumped in. That's not my dog.
That's my dog. Sorry. If you can hear it. Yeah. That's awesome.
So yeah, she jumped in, and it's been 3.5 years now.
Very good. So she was a client and then just realized that this was something she wanted to do and kind of jumped in. So what happened whenever she told you, or how, did she ask, what did you think? Or did she say, hey, I think I want to do this? Or kind of what did that look like as far as how she got involved initially?
Sure. Yeah. So the friend that she joined under is from Philadelphia, and very good friends with ours. Her and her husband were both in our wedding. So I had known all along that she was trying to encourage Heidi with this, and Heidi was thinking about it. It had also met with a couple areas of a phase of life. So we were getting more and more comfortable with owning and running the Sweet Frog yogurt shops. We were getting those into more of a maintenance mode where, she helps do a lot of the staffing. And at times there's a lot of work with those and at times there's not. So she was finding herself able to manage that a little better, along with, we were at a good phase with our kids. Our youngest child at that time was getting into some schooling. So she was finding that she had some time, more time in her day, and wanted to find a way to, again, help people have an impact using, kind of the energy she had found from that product line, but also hopefully help supplement some income for us as a family. So when she first started into it, I didn't really know skincare a whole lot to be able to speak the language, but
Right.
I knew enough about what she had found with Rodan Fields, because she was obviously very happy about it, and I had overheard a lot of the conversations she had had with her upline. So when she first jumped into it, I think it was kind of a eyes wide open kind of thing, right? Where great, not really quite sure what all it entails, but you clearly have a lot of passion and energy around it. And if you don't have any passion around something, obviously it's not going to go well. But she definitely had a passion around it, so she jumped right in,
That's
and
cool.
the adventure began.
Yeah. And was there any trepidation, any concern on your part? As obviously you saw that the product worked, but as far as getting involved in the actual sales side of it and the business side of it, was that, what did you feel from the other side, other side of the world, as far as the spouse of that? Like, what did that affect, or how did that affect you?
You wanted to say other side of the selfie.
I did.
You could have branded
Almost.
that. That's all right.
Almost,
All right.
yes.
Yeah. So I don't know if I didn't have any trepidation. I think it was more just not knowing, what was that all going to entail. Obviously, if from day one it had gone gangbusters, great. I think more for me, it was just the learning curve of a couple different things. And this is what we really learned over the years, is that one, it's not going to happen overnight. And we knew and she knew, and that was our adjustment as a family of just, at the end of the day, you have to manage your expectations and you have to have flexibility. And we've actually always been pretty good about that. We kind of joke, if you walk into our house right now, it's not going to be pristine, it's not getting vacuumed every day or that kind of thing, because you give and take when you
Right.
have things that you're doing that take up additional time, or you have your own businesses. We learned that a lot from Sweet Frog.
Sure.
And so we knew there was some of that. And that was more of what we jumped into, is just understanding the ebbs and flows of how that was going to go, because she knew if she wanted to make that business successful, she had to work at it. But at the same time, the beauty of having Rodan Fields has been some of that flexibility of, at times when we've had a heavy period of life with our kids where things have been really intense, or we had a time where my mom was sick for a while, and Heidi had a time where her father was sick for a while. Those are times where obviously you're not going to be putting as much time into your business and you're focusing on your family. But at the same time, having Rodan Fields or this kind of model allows for that.
Right. The
Because
flexibility there,
you're not going into an office, 9 to 5 or a certain set hours. And if you're not showing up on a particular day at the office, that's not going to go well. But yet with this model, you are your own boss. And so it is kind of what you put into it. And that's been the biggest learning that we've jointly had, but I've also had just watching her as she's gone through this, is she really loves it from a passion standpoint, but there are definitely times where she's able to put a lot of times in it, and other times where she just have to back off a little bit.
Sure.
And it kind of the ebbs and flows of how that goes.
Did you feel like the kind of step into entrepreneurism, if that's a word, with Sweet Frog as a couple getting into that, you feel like that had any impact on one or both of your side to be able to say, hey, we can do this other thing, this additional thing, not so much that it was going to compete, but hey, we've done this entrepreneurial thing now. So, doing this one isn't going to be that big a deal.
Yeah, I think it really did. And I think it helped feed into an understanding that, we could definitely do it. And I say we because as much as it's her, and I don't know skincare very well, I have sometimes been able to speak the language and help sell to other people or tell my coworkers or friends about what she's doing. So I can speak the language a little bit.
Right.
But at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. It is a joint venture, even though it is her business. But that definitely helped, no doubt. Just to know that, she can jump in and do it and attack it, and having done something launching on her own before,
Right.
that definitely helped.
Right. You mentioned the kids, so tell me a little bit about how that has played into, obviously, so you're in business from the corporate world, job-wise, and you've also got this multiple chain franchise store, and you got this Rodan Field thing, and you got a family of, boys to raise. How does that all come in, balance, lack of balance, as we kind of talked the other day? How do you pull it all together?
Yeah, there's a lot that can go there. How much time do we have? Yeah, not enough time.
That's right. Cavs are on at 8:30, so
That's right.
we'll make
Cavs are on.
break. Yeah.
Well, I only joke about that only because, we've learned as a couple, separate from any entrepreneur business, that as you go through different phases of life, you have to learn where to say yes and where to say no. And that feeds right into this as well, because with jumping into this, we've also been able to look at some opportunities and identify what is right for us to jump into and what's not right for us to jump into, given that we have all those things you just mentioned and we want to be able to still focus on the family. Heidi and I also are very flexible in terms of around the house. I would definitely say over the past 3.5 years, I've definitely started cooking more, which I enjoy. I actually really enjoy. But the kids have certainly helped us realize that there's just sometimes we have to jump in at different times. Just the other night, Heidi was doing a webinar with her team, and everyone was dialing in from different parts of the country. And it was neat to be able to see her doing that.
Yeah.
But at the same time, that's in the evening. So separate from your daytime job, that immediately becomes a very big difference of how you just adjust and flow with what you do.
So do you try to, what are some of the things, would you take the kids and leave to go somewhere? Or do you just kind of try to keep them busy? What are some of the things maybe around the house besides, like you said, cooking and that kind of thing? But what do you do in order to allow her to do what she does?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think it's just, we just figure out how to shift and balance depending on what's going on. A lot of the times, if it's a sports practice or a game or whatever, one of us may naturally be out with them doing something and the other one's doing that. Or, we're pretty good about putting a muzzle on them. I joke about that. I don't do that. But getting
up in the room in a straight jacket.
Getting them to another
really
part of the house. So they're quiet. We don't have any pets, so there's no barking or anything going on. But
which is terrible, so especially on live. I mean, who would do that?
We've been able to figure out pretty well, and sometimes if something comes, we just figure out how to navigate around it.
Yeah. So what have you seen? I know you said that you've really been able to see kind of this passion, it sounds like, in Heidi kind of come out, and although it was probably there before as a person, I know, I've known Heidi forever, so I get that from a personality standpoint. But as she started getting involved in the business, did you maybe that's not it, maybe there's something else, but if there's something that you've seen that, like network marketing and having her own business and that kind of thing, what that's done for her?
Sure. Yeah. That's actually what I'd say. It's really been neat as her husband, just to see kind of an energy and a passion flow through her. So if you were to look at maybe another opportunity that might have been pursued, maybe she would have gone into the office and found a job part-time, or maybe something that was 20 hours a week, or maybe even something from home, but involved a lot of computer or phone work, whatever that might have been. That might have been the alternative to finding something. I think for me, as I look at it, it's been really neat to see her latch onto something and do something that she truly has a passion and energy about. Because said the other way around, I think if it would have been an office job or something she might have found that didn't align with her passion, I think we all know that at different times in your life, you're just not going to be able to have an energy around it and see that come through. But because it is something she's passionate about, I do see it come through. And she, like I said, she's very relational. And so the neatest part to me is when she does work with a client and she's able to see them have the same kind of success that she had when she had the product. And you just kind of see a light go on, or her spur a little more and work with, put that towards her work and you hear that in the conversations, whether she's on the phone or meeting with a client over a coffee or whatever.
Cool.
It's just really neat to see. She likes to do that more in a one-on-one or directly in her business, not so much of a home party or that kind of thing. She's very much more of a one-on-one or one on a few type environment.
Gotcha. That's cool. Yeah, and I would say the same. I mean, with Ann and with her stuff with Unique, and which is a similar business, obviously on the cosmetic side of things. It's not just about selling makeup or selling cosmetics or selling lotions or whatever. What she truly loves, and I think where I've enjoyed seeing her grow too, is in just the confidence and passion around helping other women and empowering other women who, are, maybe they don't think they're pretty enough to do X, Y, Z, or they don't think they're strong enough to do, start a business, or they just don't have the confidence, or they don't have the strength or the mentality or whatever it is. And I've said it, several times that I think even if she wasn't making a dime, she'd love doing what she's doing just because she still has the ability to see that success and confidence and all that stuff being built in these other ladies that she's working with, which is really cool to see.
It really is for me. And I think as you had invited me to this, and I was kind of thinking of some nuggets to be able to share with whoever listens, whether live or over recording, I kind of summarize it down into three things. I think it's one, if I'm looking at it from the position of a spouse, because that's the audience that you're targeting this towards. If I'm looking at it as a position of a spouse, I think one, it's encourage your wife. I can certainly improve in that every day, but at the end of the day, encourage your wife. And for me to see the passion, even just talking to you about this tonight, remembering times where I've seen that passion and energy come out of her has been really neat. So, certainly encourage your wife if they are looking at that and they're right on the edge. They've stepped right to the edge and they're debating, dipping that toe in the water or not doing it. Certainly be there and encourage them. The second part would be it doesn't happen overnight. I think that's one of probably the biggest misperceptions of this kind of model, whether it's skincare, makeup, weight loss, whatever the models are that are the more common multi-level marketing models where you're working out of home, flexible, be your own boss.
Right.
I think some people are jumping in it to and then hope to see it blow up overnight, and all of a sudden the paychecks just start coming in the mail and they don't know what to do with them. Well, that'd be a great problem to have, but that is just not going to happen. And so I think the second piece for me is it takes time. So have that expectation of that, and it takes effort. And certainly Heidi has seen the rewards when she really is able to focus and have goals, and she works with the team sometimes for accountability, and she has that time to put into it. But at the same time, at other times when we've either had family things going on or whatnot, and she hasn't been able to put as much time into it, there's certainly a direct correlation to that.
Sure.
So I think the second piece is it definitely takes time and takes work. And then the third one is just to have the approach of flexibility. Because it's not a 9-to-5 job. I think that's a lot of the world we live in now anyway. We're certainly getting away from 9-to-5 type setups. And so, yeah.
That's great. Yeah. So you mentioned a little bit about some of the benefits. Tell me some of the kind of the joys and the upside and the stuff that you guys have benefited from, resulted from. You talked, obviously there's some financial side, but then what are some of the other? Do you have like incentive trips or the ability to do some sort of vacation because of the extra money, or just those kind of things? Is that some other stuff that you've been?
Sure. I think for us with our family, the way it's worked is I don't think we've designated that for one particular trip or whatnot. I would just say in general, it's been nice to have some additional income coming in to help for whatever's going on.
Sure.
Last year, literally within 5 or 4 months, we had our furnace go down and our air conditioner go down. Literally in the exact same year, our house had reached that age where both of those were kind of coming due, and I was just trying to hang on for as long as I could. Well,
Right.
sure enough, those went out the exact same year, and that's not
Awesome.
something you typically try to write into the budget.
Right.
So it's just those kind of things which having an additional source of income just helps towards. And you can also think of vacations as well. That certainly helps. And then again, the other part for me has just been the relationships. A lot of these companies, and Rodan Fields is one as well, they do conferences or they do opportunities where you can join with other women. And even if you're not live at the conference, she went out east last year, even though the conference was out west. She joined with some women out east, and they all got together to watch it on the webinar, and they talked about it, and they had a blast.
Yeah, that's
and
cool.
They're doing that together. They're walking that journey together, and I think it's been neat to see her build those relationships as well.
That's cool. What do your kids think about it? Just curious. Totally off the wall question.
No, yeah, it's a good question. I think we've probably primed them to know that mom and dad at times just kind of jump and do.
Yeah.
I still don't know what they think about us trying a full-fledged restaurant. And that didn't go so well. But so I think they're kind of used to us doing things, and we talk to them. They know that mom has a Rodan Fields job. It involves skincare, but because we have all boys,
they don't pay attention.
There's kind of a limit there where they realize, okay, can we go play Fortnite? Or
That's exactly right. Yeah, that's funny. Yeah, I think the what I think has been neat in our since Anne has been about the same, around 4 years in with Unique. She did a couple things before, so I would say a total of maybe 5 to 6 years that she's been doing some sort of multi-level marketing thing. She sold purses and she sold jewelry and she sold a couple other things. And so, I would say about 6 years. And then myself, obviously, been an entrepreneur for however many years it's been, as long as I can remember, and since the kids were little and stuff. So I think it's neat to see and to show and have that impact on your kids, to show that there's more opportunity than just the typical, what maybe you're expected, or what even we as parents tend to push on our kids about what's expected. Our kids obviously are older, so I've got 19-year-old Audrey and 15-year-old Isaac and 12-year-old Ian. And Audrey, for example, is now selling Unique as well. She also sells as a Beachbody coach. She just does Beachbody stuff. And so she, I think, is kind of catching on to that entrepreneurial drive a heck of a lot earlier than we did. But it's neat to see that and to instill that. I think sometimes, and I don't know if you guys would be the same, but sometimes I think they can look at it and they don't quite understand how good they've got it as far as the flexibility goes, right? So because dad can make it to lacrosse practice, or mom can come and pick you up from school in the middle of the day, and all that kind of stuff, where it's there's a lot of other people that work just as hard or harder or not as hard as we do, but don't have that opportunity to to be able to spend that extra time. So I think it's neat to see that. And even though they may not recognize it now, hopefully down the road they will. But I don't know, just kind of an aside relative to impact on the kids. I think it's pretty good.
Absolutely. And I think we're still at like you said, a younger phase than you are. But I don't think there's any time too early to just start teaching them that work and hustle. And you have to work. And it's especially good right now, because I think in our society there's definitely some times where they may not see that as much. Sure. And I just can't wait to put my kids to work at the froyo stores when it becomes legal. So
just getting to the age, right?
Yeah.
So tell me a little bit about some of the challenges, maybe some of the things that have been difficult, either early on or even now. Some of the hard things that you've gone through, and then maybe a little bit of how did you get through? How did you deal with it?
I think, that's a great question. I think at the end of the day, it just comes down to balance. And like a lot of things in life, anytime you're jumping into one thing, then there's a new dynamic that starts coming into play with balance. And I think I started mentioning this earlier. I may not have finished my thought, but I think one of the things that has helped us getting through it is to realize that this is another thing that we're doing, but it's also something we want to do not only for Heidi, and it really is exciting just to see her kind of flourish with it, but because now we want to introduce that into our family, what does that do from a balance standpoint? So the best example is, even over the past couple of years, we've identified some other areas of our life that we needed to almost back away from, whether it was with our church, for example, leading a community group,
Right.
backing away from doing that, or I was involved on a particular board and my term was up and I didn't renew with doing that. So different things that I think we've been able to identify that are the right decisions to make to ensure that we can still figure out ways to have that balance, and you have to communicate that with each other and work that through. And we always try to hold by, if you're adding one thing, you've got to find something else that can go away. Otherwise, you're just overloading yourself. And we haven't always
learned. I need to learn that.
no, it's a great point. We haven't always been the best. I will freely admit.
Sure,
I used to say yes to everything. We've run a class together as couples before, right? and that kind of thing. So it's an easy discipline to speak about, but it's often difficult to put the action. And so you have to be intentional.
And probably, I think intentional prioritizing and really, realizing what you're doing it for. And I think that goes back to your point about passion and realizing, once you find that passion, I think that's, again, the same with Anne. And I think right now for her, I would say it's a combination of passion, and it's still, I think, revolves around the empowering other women. But with her, she does the unique stuff, but then also with her fitness coaching kind of stuff that she does, I think she also sees that ability to help women and kind of challenge them and push them beyond something that they don't think they could do or didn't think they could do. But she does that with men too in her classes and stuff. But I think once you find that, then it allows you to prioritize and know why you're doing what you're doing, and just like you said, try push away some of the things maybe that you shouldn't be doing or that you don't enjoy as much, and I think that's also a phase of life thing, right? So we're mid 40s now, and at the point where
you're what?
Mid 40s. I know it, right? Hard to believe. Well, she is. I'm under mid 40.
Oh, right.
I'm not quite mid 40.
Good one. You're going to see the other side of the
right? But I think that you start to focus on things that matter, right? And it's you get past, and you're not affected as much by the things that people may have opinions of things, or they may have just may say things or do things or whatever that back in the day used to be something maybe that we care about because we were worried about what people thought about us. But to be able to get past that and say, what, this is what we found as our passion, or for her, what she loves to do. And, she has a lot of people I know that say, oh my gosh, you're on Facebook all the time and, all this kind of stuff, and give her a hard time about it. And she's like, hey, if you don't want to see it, block me. It's who I am. This is what I do. So, which I think is great. And I think that's, having that confidence that this is who I am and this is what I want to do. I think that really makes a big difference.
Yeah, there's definitely a seasons of life adaptation that will always be out there for everyone. But this is another example where as you go through having this kind of opportunity or working on this kind of thing, as the seasons of life come, there's adjustment and adaptation and balance and flexibility that all comes with the package, kind of.
Yeah. So I know we'll leave it with this as we kind of head out. I know we got a Cavs game starting here in just a minute, but you kind of said it already, and maybe you could just repeat it again. But if you had something that was like a lesson learned, if you were to say, hey, to somebody who's either just getting into this or maybe struggling with it, or they're a husband that is, they want to do something or they don't quite know what to do, what would be that kind of lesson learned or nugget that you might leave somebody with if they were saying, hey, my wife's thinking about doing this. What do you think?
Yeah, no, hindsight's always 20/20 in life. Yep. I think as we're sitting here having this conversation, I think to encourage anyone out there that's listening or thinking about it or talking to their spouse about doing it, it goes back to, again, encourage them. I mean, that's kind of our role. I certainly can continue to do that and do that better. But encourage them if they're truly excited about it. Work together to figure out the flexibility and the balance that needs to be a part of it.
Right.
And if they want to go. I mean, why not?
Right? Yeah, let them
why
get
not?
Right.
Yeah. Why not? And then again, just make sure you have the appropriate expectations going into it.
Sure.
And work together on that balance and flexibility.
Yeah. Awesome. Cool. Well, thank you very much, Matt. I really appreciate the time and good catching up just in general. Haven't talked to you in a while, so it was great to kind of hang out and chat. And hopefully for those that are watching, if you're watching this, share it, push it on to somebody, no matter what kind of company you're with or who you're with or whatever. Jump out there, share this stuff. And if you make comments after the fact, hit hashtag replay, all that fun stuff. And don't forget to go to othersideoftheselfie.com to watch all of our previous episodes. We've had all kinds of folks. Hey, there we go. All kinds of folks join. And I think it's our main goal here is to support our wives and do what we can. So hopefully what we're trying to do is coming across. So thanks for joining us. Thanks, Matt. And thanks everybody else. We'll say peace out from the other side of the selfie.
Go Cavs.
Yeah.